Hello, and welcome back to Suzerain with the Republic of Swordland. In today's episode, well, we've got a lot going on. Now, what's going on in the Codex? First, in 1957, after poisoning of Fitav, Leek was invited back to the WPB and was selected as the presidential candidate for 57 election. Later, he formed an alliance with the Communist Party of Swordland and was elected as leader of the People's Front, the coalition of WPB and CFPS. Well, good luck. I wish you luck, sir. Enjoy your elections. King of Rumburg. It was a member of the Organization for Mercopan Economic Development (MBC) before expulsion from its international backlash. It still is a member of the Alliance of Nations and Grace. Interesting. King of Rumburg, huh? You got expulsed from one of your things, Swordland's Darkest Hour. During Swordland's Darkest Hour, President Rain took the reign and led the country out of depression. Millions of jobs added, countless businesses opened, and myriad investors pouring into Swordland. Wholesword Post and foreign leaders predict Swordland to be an economic giant in the long run, while historians engraved the Great Swordish Recovery to Swordland's record. Woo! This is the news station that usually hates me saying that. Let's go. Socialist housing in Swordland. The Ministry of Economy recently unveiled plans for a housing assistance program aimed at supporting low-income families and addressing homelessness in Swordland. However, the policy has been met with criticism from conservative factions, who labeled it as socialist and accused the president of promoting Maoist ideologies. This debate underscores the deep ideological divides within Swordland's political sphere. The program's outcomes will impact the lives of struggling citizens and serve as a testament to the administration's ability to navigate these differences for a more inclusive nation. Yeah. Even the economists seem to be agreeing with me for the most part with that. Great Swordish economic recovery. Under the president's brilliant leadership, Swordland has lifted itself out of the Great Depression. Jobs and investments are returning in the millions and thousands as the country's GDP rises without signs of stopping. Undeterred from and unhindered by the crisis, the president steered this nation onward. With this momentum, Swordland is destined to be the golden apple of the Mercopa region. It appears that the best is yet to come. Woo! Swordish Championships against Riesian Giants. FC America to face Mount Color in Mercopan Cup knockouts. In a historic feat, the FC America has triumphed, securing their spot in the prestigious Mercopan Cup knockouts. Woo! Making them the first Swordish club to achieve this milestone. Let's go! Let's go! I'm just gonna say my guy's an FC America fan for no reason. Their 1-0 victory over the Lesbian Giants at Etica Perla set the stage for close qualifications. Now the spotlight turns to the Mercopan Cup knockouts, where FC America will face the formidable challenge of taking on Real Monte Carlo, one of the tournament's heavyweights and a 3-time Mercopan Cup champions, who are a clear contender for the main title. As the Swordish champions gear up to clash with the World Giants from Riesia, the Swordish football lovers are eagerly awaiting this tantalizing showdown. Woo! New force in politics, People's Front. Yesterday, the leaders of CAPS and WPB came together and announced a coalition named People's Front. WPB's new leader, Manson Leek, is chosen the coalition president's candidate. In their public statement, both leaders explained the reasons for the alliance as the unfairness of the high election threshold. It asserted that the alliance has the power to shake down the current status quo. I agree, it is unfair, and I tried to change it, but sadly I couldn't. Just staring at them. Rain enacts housing assistance. The president announced earlier this week his latest plan to help citizens of Swordland. The housing assistance program, aimed at to help low-income families and the elderly, has been signed into law by Rain on Monday. The government will look to pay the rent until the families reach a certain amount of income. The Ministry of Economy, Mr. Simon Hull, announced that more than 5.3 million swords will benefit from this. Woo! CPS and WPB form the People's Front. The Communist Party of Swordland and the Workers' Party of Bludia are joining their forces for the election. Yesterday, the leaders of both parties held a 6-hour meeting to discuss the terms of their alliance. The spokesperson for the Communist Party has announced that both parties are forming an alliance called the People's Front, and the CPS leadership has accepted WPB's terms to appoint Manson Leek as their primary candidate. It seems that finally the left-wing politicians are coming together to bypass the threshold and crush the soulless structure of Swordland. It is particularly touching to see the leadership of the CPS accepting the WPB's leader as their presidential candidate to form the alliance. This is not only an important day for the left, but for the Bludish and all minorities as well, especially due to the fact that a Bludish person will be leading such a strong political front. Raynomics improves living standards. Raynomics! Raynomics! I got Raynomics. Oh, that's gonna be a trendy thing. We need to use that on our trail of rerunning for our next term. At the end of this term, President Rain has brought more changes to Sordlin than ever, albeit not all are positive, yet the situation with Sordlin's living standard has increased. Based on new research, Sordish citizens' life expectancy is at its highest in history. The president's policies have given every person the same economic opportunity to strive forward. It is the most excellent news for any Sordish resident since the forming of the Republic. Woo! Olmec announces expulsion of Rumberg. Following his latest TV interview, President Rain seems to be successful so far in receiving the backing of the international community. Led by Sordlin's request, OMEC has decided to expel Rumberg from Eastern Republican Economic Forum. Undoubtedly a drastic and surprising resolution. This move is to sever the long-strained economic ties of Rumberg with the organization. Queen Beatrice Livingstone has refrained from making any comments yet. Let's go! That's what diplomacy does. Let's go. Mounsom becomes new WPB leader. In a public statement, WPB headquarters announced that Munson Leek was invited back to the party and was elected as new leader of the WPB. They stated that the WPB will not pull back from the race and will continue with Leek as their presidential candidate. Mounsom might return to WPB to fill agile role. I mean, now they just have, so this is a bit out of date, but according to reports from the capital, due to the serious condition of Eljal, the leadership of the Workers' Party of Bludia held an emergency meeting in their party headquarters in Holsord to appoint a new leader as their presidential candidate. After the meeting, the party invited Messin Leek to their headquarters. Sarna. WPB leader poisoned. Leader of the Workers' Party of Bludia, Fedel Agil, was poisoned by a nerve agent and was hospitalized in a serious condition. During his trip to Sarna to deliver a speech for his campaign, he suddenly became ill after eating zalba with a local family. An investigation has been launched to find the culprit. Find them, please. British opinion high. For the first time in Sordish history, the British people have come out in support of the sitting president. Thanks to President Rain's policies and actions during his first term, sentiment for the president in Deir has been incredibly high. Earning the British vote in the upcoming election may be crucial for re-election. Let's go! Huge rise in WPB in popularity as well, though. The Workers' Party of Bludia has seen a massive increase in membership following the creation of the Bergia Special Zone in Deir. The establishment of a local assembly and increase in their autonomy has been something that Bloods had fought for years to achieve. It comes to no surprise there have been an increase in politics now. It is more accessible. The Workers' Party of Bludia, a political party, places a strong emphasis on parliamentary democracy, unions, minority rights, and egalitarianism. So, really, it's going to be depend me and their local party, what they'll vote for. But we'll just have to wait and see. Well-received PR visit. Following a brief visit to Lachevin, the president spent the afternoon meeting and taking photos with jubilant citizens at Republic Avenue. The enthusiasm displayed was not unexpected. It was clear the citizens were delighted to witness their popular president in person. Man, I'm feeling good about things. Private meeting with Lilius Graf. The historic Graf Manor lay on the outskirts of Arvory, at the end of a long, winding drive, nearly 2 centuries old. It was as formidable as Lilius herself. Lilius invited me here for a private dinner, just the two of us. I wasn't sure of her motivations, but was happy to have an excuse to escape the chaos back in Holsord. Serge dropped me off at the door. I used the heavy brass door knocker. I don't have a door knocker here, but I knocked to signal my arrival. The butler answered and showed me into the parlor. Gas lantern lit the wood-paneled room, a cozy orange glow. Lilius was sitting on a sofa. Above her hung a nearly life-sized portrait of a sallow, unhappy-looking young girl in a lace ball gown. Is that you? My mother, actually. I was her only child, you know. Giving birth to me left her medically unable to conceive. My father could never forgive her for not bearing him a son, and she never forgave me. She took a measured sip of one of the 2 glasses of sparkling wine she was holding, and handed me the other. Sounds like a painful childhood. The silver lining is that despite personally despising me, they felt compelled to grant me all the advantages a son would have had, including the education I needed to rise to my current position. Well, would you be so kind as to tell me why you invited me over? Given how your wife spends her time these days, I thought you might be in need of a home-cooked supper. The butler silently stepped into the parlor and rang a silver bell. Speaking of which, she led me into her dining room, where a glittering chandelier hung from the high ceiling. Beneath it was a long table set for two. A woman in an apron and a chef's hat. Wizzik, by her appearance, ceremoniously presented a roast rack of venison. Smells delicious. The groundskeeper shot it this morning. Lilius bowed her head and said a quick prayer, then motioned for me to dig in. It was some of the best meat I'd ever had. We ate in silence for a while, then Lilius pensively laid down her cutlery. Anton, I want you to know that I have nothing but respect for you. I respect you too. But given certain developments that have occurred over the course of our term, I believe you are no longer fit to lead the United Swordland Party. Lilius took a brief breath. I wanted you to be the first to know that I myself will be running against you as party congress. I suspected that you might. Of course you did. You aren't stupid. Did you think I'd sit by as you made a mockery out of the country's constitution? The very constitution that is keeping this country safe from internal and external threats. You're a disgrace to the good name of Turkin Sol. I don't want to say any of these. I kind of want to just show respect, but did you poison my food? I'm going to say it in a joking manner, hopefully. Lilius reached over to my plate, took a fork full of meat, and ate it while looking in my eye. I don't need those kinds of tricks to beat you. I'm doing you a courtesy tonight. I didn't want to surprise you at Congress, and I wanted to give you time to consider backing me. Sorry, Lilius. I can't back down now. I understand. I'll tender my official resignation once we're both back in Wholesword. I rose from my chair. It's a shame to lose you. Likewise. I'll have the butler show you out. She stayed seated as her butler gently led me outside. As Serge and I drove away, I looked in the rear-view mirror and saw our silhouette in the doorway. So I was being challenged from within my own party. At least Lilius wouldn't pose much of a threat, or so I hoped. I don't know, she's got the entire conservative backing. I'm not sure if I can beat that. Like, I think I could win the vote, but I'm not sure if I could beat her. That's more the question. In 1957, Lilius resigned from her post as minister and challenged the leadership of President Rain by running against him in the USP leadership race. It's gonna be a little difficult, I think. I mean, the conservatives infinitely like her more than me, and that's most of our party. So, that's gonna be a problem. Minister of Interior Graf resigns. In a sad turn of events for the Rain administration, Interior Minister Lilius Graf handed in her resignation following nearly 4 years in the cabinet. Graf, the former mayor of Wholesword and Arvery, overcame the barriers posed by her sex to become one of the Swordland's most beloved conservative political figures, and few expected her to simply retire. Some insiders speculate that Graf is preparing to run for a USP leadership, which, given how far the party has strayed under her current president, may end up being quite successful. Graf throws in the towel. That's not what she's doing, but okay. More chaos in the Rain government as Lilius Granny Graf resigned from her position as Interior Minister. The reason for her resignation were not publicly given, although as one of the country's most hardline socialists and religious conservatives, it stood to reason that she and Rain would have a falling out at one point or another. We'll be watching her next moves extremely closely. Yeah, it does make sense. ATO modernizes Air Force with new planes. Woo! Swordland's Ministry of Defense, General Isosif Lancia, is reporting that we have received the supplies and new aircraft from ATO. According to his report, we have added S-16 fighter jets and Venturi Express VE-34 bombers to our Air Force. Equipped with modern avionics, more accurate radar-guided gun sights, and a superior weapons loadout, the Swordland S-16 supersonic jet fighters gives our Air Force a decisive edge in aerial combat. Their speed and maneuvering are exceeding our pilots' expectations. They are nicknaming these new aircraft as Arcasian Hornets. Ooh, I like it. Hey, it's time for our military parade. Let's go. It was an unusual day for the residents of Holsword. Regularly used streets and avenues were blocked off by military personnel. Many shops and cafes were closed, and once crowded stores were now empty. Instead, thousands of residents in Holsword were congregated in one street, Victory Avenue. Stretching out through the heart of Holsword, people on both sides of the road were waving their swordish flags proudly for the military parade. I was getting prepared to embark on my trip. It was going to be a short drive down the Victory Avenue until we reached Maroon Palace. My company for this trip was Izov with Serge, as usual, driving the presidential car. Izov approached me. He was wearing his decorated ceremony outfit. He carried a sword with a goat head at the handle and his pistol by his hip. He put on his cap. Mr. President, we are almost ready. We'll depart from right after the tank column. Good. Izov nodded. After hearing the loud thump of a book falling down the floor, he turned to a couple of privates that were doing the preparation on the schedule and started walking their direction. Private, can't you do your job properly? I watched the young soldier perform a lousy salute to Izov. What is that salute, soldier? Watch. This is a real salute. He performed an excellent salute. After scolding the privates, he walked away. Strict as ever. Old habits die hard. Serge appeared from the entrance and joined us. Mr. President, Mr. Lancia. Serge performed a salute to Izov, which made Izov smile under his mustache. At ease, Mr. Walkner. Are we ready to depart yet? Yes, sir. Follow me, please. We started following Serge through the corridors. Mr. President, have you seen the tanks? Our planes, too? Rome will be so scared when they see this. That is the plan. A great one, I'd say. My kids were very excited to wake up today, to see the planes fly. Serge, where did you do your military service? Morna 7th Artillery Squadron. I still talk with many of my friends from those days. The camaraderie of military is never forgotten. I'm still in touch with my friends from basic training as well. What about you, sir? Where did you serve? All over Swordland, you know. Mr. President was under my command once. Gumren Outpost. He turned to me. Do you remember those days? Who could forget Major Lancia? We called him the Relentless. Good old days. I also remember Mr. President not like to execute direct orders from superiors. Well, it's in the past now. True. We are here, sir. We exited the building and walked over to the clearance where the black Cadillac, the presidential car, was waiting. It was directed properly for the event, and the top canopy had been removed so that I could stand and wave to the people. On the way to the car, generals and admirals were lined up on both sides of the carpet. The atmosphere immediately changed when those experienced men who fought many times for their country saluted me. I saluted back with respect. I saluted the high-ranking military staff and attaches from the ATO. We shook hands before proceeding. Entered the car and Serge started the engine. Izov saluted me. We were on our way shortly. Good luck, Mr. President. The car started rolling. Even though there were many walls and trees in between the car and the crowd, I was able to hear the deafening sound of cheering Swedish citizens. Gradually, we made our way to the starting point. A group of 10, maybe 12 latest technology S-16 fighter jets flew above our heads, and I thought that the engine sounds was going to leave me deaf. Loud footsteps of the marching soldiers were followed by loud noises coming from the tank engines. The tanks came into my view. They were not the most modern models, however they displayed our military might. I couldn't even finish my thought, and one of the tanks broke down and had to be towed. Well, you know, they're alright. We waited for a few minutes for the announcement. Finally, it was our turn. On both sides of the Victory Avenue, there were numerous citizens cheering my name, waving their swordish flags. Raise your fist. Looking at the benches where the general staff was sitting, I saw Turkin's Soul sitting next to General Valken. We kept their slow and steady pace. We were almost at the Arthur S. Whiskey statue, several hundred meters away. A group of soldiers saluted me as we passed by. They looked proud and stout in the new infantry uniforms with brand new rifles. We continued on as per the schedule and finally arrived at the Maroon Palace, which marked the end of the parade. People of Holsword dispersed to their homes. A clear message was sent to Rumburg by the display of our military might. We were about to see whether it would be enough or not. We used diplomacy with a little bit of aggressiveness to show that we're not weak at the same time. The will of the state. Ooh. What's on news? ATO influence, Swordland's energy market in flux. Following Swordland joining ATO, the nation's energy market experienced notable shifts influenced by the alliance's market dynamics. While the enhanced access to diverse energy sources and technologies could potentially bolster our energy sector, concerns persist about foreign influence and the loss of market autonomy. Yeah, I get that. World leaders to gather at Alliance of Nations. Ooh, calling for a session on the current affairs. World leaders will be gathered at Alliance of Nations next week. The main highlights from the upcoming agenda were announced as expected. They will be around the current issues in Eastern Maricopa, in addition to the member states from the region. President Walker and Chairman Melevev will be delivering their speeches at the Assembly. All eyes will turn to Konstantin and Kairat as the historic session will be taking place in the Alliance of Nations headquarters. Schedule for the Alliance of Nations sessions. We have received the schedule for the upcoming Alliance of Nations sessions. According to the dates outlined, Swordland one is being prepared for the flight to Konstantin and Kairat. Minister of Foreign Affairs David Whiskey will be attending the session as well as accompanying Mr. President on the pride. Woo! Let's go. Oh, that's gonna be exciting. Maricopan Championship Cup. Yeah! Let's go. Today, the management of FC Anarcot invited me to attend a pivotal football match. At Lucian's urging, I accepted. The team was representing Swordland in the international arena. According to Lucian, it would have been unpresidential not to put in an appearance. FC Anarco was finally in the Maricopan Champions Cup, the most prestigious football tournament in the world. For the first time ever, a Swordish team had managed to qualify for the knockout phase. Millions of Swordish people were waiting to watch FC Anarca complete against the legendary Riesian team Real Talklar. Despite all odds being stacked against the team, the mood was full of hope. A win today would bring Anarca to the quarterfinals, a feat that no Swordish team had ever managed to achieve. And of course, all presidents of Swordland, current and former, were invited to watch the historic competition. I was told that both Turk Sol and Elwald Alfonso would be joining me in the lounge reserved for us. How are you feeling, sir? I'm fine, Lucian, thank you. We made our way towards the Maroon Stadium. The arena was situated in one of the most crowded quarters of Anarca, surrounded by dense urban developments. As we would wound our way through the streets, I noticed the name of Turk Sol everywhere. Since I'd last been here, markets, restaurants, and even pubs named after Cologne had all popped up. Why is Anarca so crazy about Sol all of a sudden? I noticed it as well. I've heard it is part of an ad campaign for Anarca, an attempt to draw tourists, or at least soulless ones, to the city. Sol's legacy still lives on for millions, after all. Lucian's pocket radio crackled. After responding, he turned to me. Sir, the security gave us the clear and informed us that Turk Sol has already arrived at the lounge. Good luck. I know he's quite the imposing presence. Please follow the guards to the top floor. You will be seated in the VIP lounge. Any advice before I leave? You know the guest of honor more than I do, sir. If all else fails, just focus on the match. It shouldn't be difficult. Even just the fact that you are here will surely help with our campaign image. Follow the security. I followed the security. We entered beneath a giant sign that read, Welcome to the Hall of Martyrs. The corridors inside were painted almost completely in maroon, adorning them with a various depiction of the Swordish goat, numerous jersey and awards, and team photographs. On our way up, I was greeted by the president of the club. Beaming with pride, he immediately shook my hand. Behind him, Matus Curtis Les, Gus Manger were waiting to greet me as well. All of them have FC Anarca pins attached to their collars. Welcome to Anarca, Mr. President. You are always welcome in Anarca, and it is great to see you show support in person. Thanks for being here. This match means a lot for us, Anarcans. And all of us Swordlands. Never before has a Swordish team reached this stage in the Maricopan Cup. I have high hopes for today. This is a big achievement for Swordish football. Football is of a rapidly expanding importance to Swordland and beyond. It's good that we have to see the opportunity in it. The president of the club walked in, handed us a big bag of FC Anarcan merchandise, and gave a speech stressing the importance of today's match. After delivering his best wishes, he kindly pointed us towards his lounge, which was surrounded by heavily armored men. Once I finally found myself inside, I was greeted by an amazing view of the entire pitch through floor-to-ceiling windows. Kirkensole was already seated on the leather sofa, casting a hawk-like gaze onto the field. He did not react when I entered. "It's good to see you here, Mr. Soul." Kirkensole leaned on his cane and turned his head to look at me. "Mr. Rain, I didn't hear you come in." He smiled at me and gestured at the vacant spot beside me. You need to take a quick drink. "Please, join me." I approached the sofa and sat next to him. "I didn't expect you to show up today. It is heartening to see that you're a supporter of FC America and sort of sports." I could say the same for you, Mr. Soul." The corner of his mouth curled up mirthlessly. "Tell me, is everything faring well after your defeat of your reforms, Mr. Rain?" "I may not have changed the Constitution, but I've done my best to reform Swordsland in my own way. So I've seen, but at what expense? Despite all the warning signs, you had adamantly followed your own pig-headed vision for Swordsland, turning Swordsland into a puppet for superpowers to play with. I never would have thought I'd live to see Swordsland invaded by imperialists, especially at the invitation of the Swordish president. I'm warning you, Anton, the path you've chosen will only bring about exploitation and abuse." "I understand your concerns, sir, but I beg to differ. Say what you will, deep down inside, you know I'm right." "You're talking past me, not to me. You don't know how to listen." "I'm willing to listen." A sudden burst of cheering from the stadium made both of us look out the window. The players had begun walking onto the field. "Look, Mr. Rain, it's starting." He pointed directly at a group. Even if I'm not going to agree with you, and I never will agree with you, I'll listen and disagree with you. Nothing wrong with that. Fans who stood up holding colored boards, creating a massive instructive illustration of Kirkensole. Under the portrait, the bottom row of boards slowly revealed the words, "Welcome home, Colonel." I'll just keep watching. I kept watching the stadium, as if plastering my name everywhere in the city wasn't enough. I suppose I'm flattered. Another group of fans raised their boards to reveal a silhouette of the famous Hall of Warriors, a Marquian-era architecture ruin in America, with Kirkensole in front of it. And the players of Real Monteclar lined up in the middle of the field. FC America fans started chanting, "We'll eat you whole for Carnal Soul." That's a nice quote. That's a nice fight thing, though. I kind of like that, to be fair. Right after the referee signaled the start of the match, the door behind us closed with a thud. "Well, Colonel, what do you feel about being Anarcha's new poster boy? It looks like it's working well for this city, and if you moved back home, I'm sure you'd get free meals and drinks everywhere you went." Elwald Afonso quickly walked up to the sofa, shook our hands, and sat next to us, smiling as he did. "Ha, I never had a strong connection to this place, Mr. Lesty. Should have asked my permission before using my name to market his city." "Oh, it was actually Gus Manager's idea." Sounds about right. Why am I not surprised? He's full of your ideas, Mr. Manager, except when it comes to the job he's actually supposed to be doing. "No need to be so dismissive. Gus has proven himself time and again. His work rejuvenated Swedish industries, and without him, Anarcha wouldn't be the city it is today." "I must say, Gus has been a very valuable minister of my cabinet. Just what we need, another president to thrall Mr. Manager and his get-rich-quick schemes." "You say that, Mr. Soul, but Mr. Manager's a respectable professional who actually loves this country." "More like an errand boy, doing the bidding of those who lie in his pockets." "I don't intend to take on the role of his personal spokesperson, you know. I was in Rizia a few days ago to meet with the energy partners. I was happy to find out that the royals over there appear to be in favor of pursuing friendly relations with Swordsland. I still don't think they will do anything to harm their connection with Rumburg, but cooperating with them was the right call." "You're fond of the monarchists now, Elwald? They must be filling your pockets with Rizian gold." "For Das's sake, Mr. Soul, try to see the positive in what I do for once." "How about you claim responsibility for once? It is your fault that a giant like Gassam was brought to the brink of collapse." I've done every... Admit it, it was too much of a responsibility for you. A man with your profit-focused mentality should have never been given the keys to such a vital sector. Elwood's upper lip curled. What's done is done, Mr. Soul. Let's not start an argument now. You're right. Let's not dwell on this. Just then, FC Anrica, star midfielder, made a breakaway down the field. The crowd erupted in cheers as the ball was passed from player to player, each just bringing it closer to the goal. Look, we're about to score. Too predictable. They won't make it past the other team's defense. As if on cue, Real Monteclar's defense made a crucial block, sending the ball back down the field. With your strategy skills, you should be a football coach, Colonel. Don't make me laugh. Alfonso turned to me. How about you, Mr. Rain? It's been a while since we last met. Is everything going well at the palace? Everything is fine, thank you. That's a relief. Suddenly, a huge roar shook the stadium. The crowd was in frenzy as FC Anrica finally got the ball past the dominating Riesian defenders. Considering everything that's happened in the last 4 years, you seem almost too composed and calm, Mr. Rain. Well, as president, I have to be. You know how it is, Mr. Former President. Just then, Monteclar midfielders executed an incredibly fast counterattack, scoring a goal that put them ahead in just a few seconds. The Swordfish side of the stadium fell completely silent. It was bad luck getting a top-tier Riesian team as our opponent. I still applaud our guys for giving their best. Not even FC Gelsword has ever come this far in international tournament. Why so bleak? It's not even halftime yet. Anrica can still come out on top. Don't expect that to make sense for him. You are talking to Elward Alfonso. Sure, I'll be a punching bag for both of you today. Hey, I'm not trying to punch you, I'm just asking an honest question. The only noise that could be heard from the stadium was shouting from the Riesian side, Monteclar. All eyes were glued to the scoreboard as the new score appeared. FC Anrica 0, Real Monteclar 1. From that moment on, we turned our complete attention to the match in front of us. The Riesian players kept dominating the field. The referee blew the whistle. It was halftime. That was rough. We heard a noise from above us. A zeppelin was flying over the stadium with a giant poster hanging beneath it. I noticed that was an advertisement for Alfonso Foundation. At the center of the poster stood Elward Alfonso, portrayed with a warm smile and a twinkle in his eyes. In his outstretched hand, he held a whimsical compass, glowing with a soft golden light. Surrounding him were people from all walks of life and cultures. The tagline, written in elegant and uplifting typography, was prominently displayed at the bottom. Alfonso Foundation, bringing hope to those in need, one act of kindness at a time. Well, that's new. Well, there's more. Just then, the speaker in the stadium started playing a sound recording in full volume. Ladies and gentlemen, we bring you a message from the Alfonso Foundation, dedicated to spreading kindness and hope to the less fortunate. Picture Swordland, where compassion shines brighter than the stars in the night sky, where the power of generosity uplifts those who need it most. The Swordland can exist, thanks to the Alfonso Foundation. Led by charismatic and esteemed President Elward Alfonso, this foundation is on a mission to make a difference in the lives of our fellow citizens, one act of kindness at a time. You call this kindness? Every Swordfish Ren you donate to the Alfonso Foundation helps us provide shelter, food, and a chance for a brighter future to those without a home, without hope. Thanks to donations of President Elward Alfonso and esteemed figures like President Anton Rain, as well as thousands of Swordfish citizens, the Alfonso Foundation has already lifted thousands out of homelessness. You too, Mr. Rain? I thought you would see through this scheme. Won't you join us in this noble endeavor? Just call this number, 1-600 Alfonso, to make your contribution today. Your support will help us extend a helping hand to those in need. The recording ended with a few seconds of upbeat, jazzy background music. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. That slowly faded out. I'll be honest, I think that ad was a little distasteful. I beg to differ. Alfonso, are you not ashamed? Instead of planning a proper, affordable housing program, you are spending your time with crap like this. Is this your way of personal redemption, spending a few rens out of your billions and portraying yourself as a savior? Unlike you, Mr. Soul, I'm not portraying myself as a hero here. I retired from politics just like you did, and now without using my clout to help the poor. And now I'm using my clout to help the poor. What's so wrong about this? You know I never called myself a hero, Alwald. It was my supporters who portrayed me as one. Don't spin the truth. Maybe they didn't have any other choice back then. Is that even true, Mr. Soul? Are you really denying that you did nothing to construct a cult of personality? What does it matter? You believed in that so much that you already ordered the removal of my face from public places, haven't you? Mr. Rain has a point, Mr. Soul. Turkid Soul locked his gaze at Elwald. Are you still sore about the party giving you a hard time after I left? Admit it, Elwald. You never could accept being a less popular leader. You hated living under the shadow of what I built. It is true, I did hate working inside your shadow empire, but I succeeded in dismantling a lot of those obstacles you laid out for me, and opened the way for reforms, but you never let the party go free. So it was I who controlled each and every member. I was behind every problem you faced within the USP. Do you really believe that? You were the founder of the party, Mr. Soul. Don't even try to deny your influence over it. Plus, you literally came to my meeting and were the person who made me not succeed. Of course you have control in some way. I still remember how the party became divided after you stopped supporting me. It is on them for being blind to the progress we are making. What do you mean? Mr. Soul supported you after Congress? Briefly, yes. The last couple of years until I became president in 49, he pushed several of my plans through, and I thought he believed in my vision. Your vision? Ha! Are you saying Mr. Soul's reforms between 46 and 49 were actually your plan? Of course they were. It was the Soulists that portrayed it differently. He looked Turkid Soul in the eyes. But it was all to get credit for initiating the reforms, wasn't it? That was the only way to say Soulism for you. You were already voted out by your own followers, and your term was ending in a few years. You couldn't afford to go against the current. You're being ungrateful, Elwald. I agreed to your reforms to help smooth the tradition of power. I did not believe in your vision, but I truly wish for success. For the sake of Swordland. But soon after your destruction of our economy, I realized how naive I was to open that gate for you. Suddenly we turned our heads to the field as a massive roar shook the stadium. The second half was already in full swing, and American players were aggressively attacking, weaving in and out of defenders with speed. Suddenly the ball was passed to the famous Swordfish striker, Hawkins Zaltar, who was in front of the goal. I noticed Soul shifting in his seat, his gaze suddenly locked on the field. The Swordfish crowd went crazy as Zaltar's powerful shot brought the ball to the back of the Riesian net. Yes! Elwald jumped from his seat. Suddenly the cheering was interrupted by the linesman raising the flag, making an offside call. Bullshit! That wasn't offside! Do you think the Riesians could have bought the referees? Well, they have the prestige and money to do that. Halt! You're in this bickering. The linesman's made the right call. The angle was all wrong. The decision like that shouldn't be made without proper evaluations. What's next? You're going to install cameras and analyze every position from different angles? That's actually something to do in real life, so yeah. The excitement in the stadium reached a fever pitch as the Swordfish striker dribbled the ball past two defenders and took a shot at the goal again. The crowd held its breath as the ball sailed through the air, but the Monte Carlo goalkeeper made a miraculous save. Damn, that was close. He suddenly pointed to a group of people who were holding signs in the front row. Do you see that? It was a group of Americans who were holding signs that read, FC America stands with Lilius Graf. Looks like FC America fans are really into politics, but unfortunately not into you. I did not respond. Suddenly a wave of shouting made us focus back on the field. An American player was shown a yellow card. With only a few minutes left on the clock, it looked as though the match would end with a 1-0 loss for FC America. But suddenly everything changed. Number 10 of Real Monteclar dribbled expertly towards the goal and effortlessly scored, and American defenders watched him in shock. I knew it! We watched in silence as the scoreboard was modified to display FC Erica 0, Real Monteclar 2. The Riesian side broke into a massive applause as the referee blew the final whistle. Well then, that settles it. We should go down and console the boys. We left the lounge and went downstairs to congratulate the team for their efforts. Alright, well that was a long one, but I think this is a good time to go ahead and end this episode. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, like, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell button. And as always, peace.